the hypothesis behind the class is, rather than think about an archive as just a repository, just a space where an institution or a state keeps the detritus of its past, we're thinking about the archive as a space that maybe triggers the imagination. It maybe lights a little flame in your mind and makes you think about not just the past, but about the future. I remember sitting in Aix-en-Provence, where the part of the French National Archives that deals with the former colonies has been held for the past few decades. And a historian next to me told me at the end of the day he had figured out how many street lights there were on the streets of Saigon in some particular year in the 50s. And my reaction was, why is that an interesting question? I was sitting next to him reading spy reports, but reading them very attentively to their literary qualities. These spies who are writing to their handlers, and they were young men of color, young colonial natives, quote unquote, reporting on other natives in the metropole, in Paris mostly. And they would say things like, "I'm in Paris and it's spring and everybody has a girlfriend but me. I'm so lonely." So I was very interested in this literary quality, even in these documents that were on the surface instrumental, that were on the surface perfunctory reports about suspicious characters and things like that. I've realized that I was looking for something else. And that made me think about the ways that what history does in an archive is different from what literature, literary history, or literary criticism might want to do with archival materials. In that sense, I'm trying to give my students ways to think about those differences, not necessarily to say you have to use the archive one way. On the contrary, I want to give maybe the historians other ways of using the archive, literary ways of using the archive, and give the people who end up getting a PhD in literature, a sense of how a historian approaches the material traces of the past.